Shakespeare. We all think we know the name, right? It feels like a monument, some dusty bust on a shelf, an idea more than a person. But behind that myth, there was a man. And his story, well, it's a lot more grounded and frankly a lot more interesting than the legend. So today, we're not just going to talk about the architect, we're going to put you right in his shoes. It's time to unmask Shakespeare.
Okay, so let's begin. You arrive. There's no big ceremony, no record of the exact hour. It's just the smell of wood smoke and tallow candles in a small English market town. You were born into a world that has absolutely no idea what it's going to do with you yet.
Now, your story doesn't start on some grand London stage. Nope, it starts in the quiet, probably muddy streets of a little market town. This is where the foundation gets laid. This is your Stratford beginning. You are the son of a glover.
This is your whole world. Stratford-upon-Avon, 1564. And let's be clear, this is not bustling London. It's the kind of place where everybody knows your name, mostly because they know your father's name. It's a town defined by the River Avon, the Guild Chapel. It's small, it's provincial, everybody knows everybody's business, but it's home.
And at the absolute center of this world is your father, John. He's a glover, a wool dealer, and a man with some serious ambition. His confidence is kind of your blueprint for life. It teaches you that the world is something you can navigate, that a guy can actually make his own way. And for the first part of your life, his success feels totally normal, like it's just the way things are supposed to be.
So your education comes in two parts. First, there's this unspoken lesson in mortality. You're the third kid, but you're the first one to survive infancy, so you learn early on that your existence is not a guarantee. Then there's the actual schoolwork, a relentless diet of Latin, of rhetoric, Roman playwrights. It just forges your mind. You aren't just clever, you remember everything. But maybe the most important lesson comes at home. Watching your dad's fortunes start to slip, you learn that a man can lose his footing, and that sometimes just the performance of being stable is all you've really got.
But the lessons you learn in a classroom are one thing. Life rarely waits until you're ready for it. It just intervenes. A marriage, a family, and then a loss that is going to change absolutely everything.
And boy, does it happen fast. You're 18. She, Anne Hathaway, is 26, and she's pregnant. The marriage license gets issued in November. Your daughter, Susanna, is born the following May. Nobody has to talk about it. The dates tell the whole story. This isn't just about young love. This is the sudden, crushing weight of responsibility.
A couple of years later, you have twins, a daughter, Judith, and a son, Hamnet. And then, your world is completely shattered by a single number, 11. That's how old your only son is when he dies. That kind of grief doesn't just go away. It gets buried, it gets transformed, and it gets poured directly into your work. Years later, this devastating private loss is going to fuel the most famous play ever written about a grieving son. You'll never explain the connection, but as this line suggests, anyone who reads Hamlet carefully enough, they'll know it, even if they can't say exactly how they know. So you leave Stratford, and then, poof, you disappear for what historians now call the lost years. And when you pop back up again, you're not a glover's son from some small town, you're a new kind of architect on the chaotic, thriving stage of London.
So how do you make your name in this absolutely cutthroat world? Not by being some volatile, moody genius. No. You do it by being a professional. You are reliable, you are fast, you are a collaborator who gets the job done on time. In the brutal world of Elizabethan theater, just being useful is how you survive.
But that's the day job, right? That's the craftsman holding the acting company together. But when you're alone, back in your rented rooms near the theater, the public professional disappears and the private architect takes over. Something else is taking shape.
And the result of that is just this astonishing body of work produced at a pace that seems almost impossible. You've got histories that define a nation, comedies that capture all the lightness of love, and tragedies that just pierce you right through the soul. You aren't just writing plays, you are literally mapping the entire landscape of human experience.
So what's the thread connecting all this work? What is that something else that's taking shape in your quiet rooms at night? It's a single, relentless question that drives your entire career. What is a person made of when the world applies pressure? From King Lear raging on the heath to Hamlet broody in the court, you're basically building these immense structures of pressure just to see what human nature reveals when it starts to crack.
But here's the thing. The artist exploring the human condition, he never forgot those hard lessons he learned watching his dad's finances crumble. And that brings us to the final act. The man, not the myth. the practical, business-minded return home.
And this, right here, reveals the two halves of your identity just working perfectly together. You've got the playwright who writes Lear, and you've got the shrewd businessman who buys the second-largest house in Stratford. You've got the poet who writes the sonnets and the investor who's putting his money into grain and property. The whole time, one part of you is making damn sure the ground underneath your family's feet was going to stay solid.
And so at the absolute height of your powers, at age 49, you just walk away, you go home. And in Stratford, you're not some legendary playwright, you're a wealthy landowner. You're John Shakespeare's successful kid. And just a few years later, at 52, you die. The cause is never recorded for sure.
So what you leave behind is twofold: an unbelievable body of work that's going to define the English language, and the last will and testament that still has scholars scratching their heads. That famous mention of the second best bed for your wife, Anne, is it an insult? Is it a tender, private joke between them? Like so much else in your life, you just leave behind gaps and questions. You see, you never wrote a memoir, you never gave interviews, you never explained your process or what drove you. You just left the work. So after we strip away all the myth and legend, what is the fundamental truth of who you actually were?
I think the answer is this. You were not a myth. You were a craftsman. The son of a glover who understood the value of solid, tangible work. The father who knew the incredible weight of grief. The businessman who understood you have to take risks. You were, above everything else, a precise architect of language and of human nature. And that precision, that is why, 4 centuries later, your structures are still standing.